Youth participation in politics and governance is not just a matter of interest, but a crucial component of a vibrant, inclusive democracy. Young people with their unique perspectives and innovative ideas have the potential to address the challenges that communities face and drive progressive change. As the largest demographic in many nations, including Namibia, the active involvement of youth in political processes ensures that policies and decisions are reflective of the needs and aspirations of the younger generation. Moreover, fostering a culture of civic engagement among youth lays the foundation for future leadership and governance that are more equitable, transparent, and accountable. I'm your host, Rivaldo Kavanga, alongside Peter Mbwale, our sign language interpreter, and this is Situation KRiTiKal. Today, we are joined by three inspiring individuals who are each playing a significant role in championing youth involvement in politics. Armando Pieters, a dedicated youth activist; Allen Petrus, a member of the Junior National Council; and LapakaSheya Shapaka, a political science student and also an education and political activist. These guests bring their unique insights and experiences to this discussion. Together, they will shed light on the importance of youth participation in politics, the challenges young people face in this arena, and the ways we can encourage more youth to take an active role in shaping the future of our country. To help us kickstart off this discussion, I'm going to start with Armando. Good evening, Armando.
Good evening, Rivaldo.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'd like to know what inspired you or what motivated you to become a youth activist and then further advocate for the greater inclusion of young people in the political landscape?
Yes, I think, Rivaldo, firstly, I would rather say that there's nothing that inspired me to become a youth activist. It is the love that I have for my country, and it is being aware and conscious of my democratic rights. It is being conscious of my civic rights, that I knew that I also am part of this house. I also need to contribute. How do I contribute, and where can I contribute? Where can I feature in building this Namibian house?
So then why do many young people also face challenges in helping build this Namibian house?
You know, Rivaldo, it is the blatant truth, and it is the raw truth. There is a notion that goes around that says that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. And when I once had an interview with Rise and Impact podcast, I said, I, Armando Pieters, refuse to be called a leader or a future leader. Do not limit my potential today on calling me a future leader. That is crippling young people's progress, because you are telling me that I cannot contribute substantively today because my portion is tomorrow. Well, let me tell you, Rivaldo, the decisions that our leaders are making today, the Namibian house that they are building today, the consequences will be bared by us, the young people. So I want to be part of the Namibian house that is built today, so that I can take ownership tomorrow and with my chest out say, I was part of what happened, and take ownership when the generation behind me says, your generation, Armando, has failed. But I will not allow people to make decisions on my behalf. I will not allow people to lay the architecture on my behalf, and then tomorrow I need to dance to those consequences. I am very sorry.
Thank you so much. LapakaSheya, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's a pleasure.
Being a political science student and from an academic viewpoint, what is the current status quo or the viewpoint of young people in Namibian politics and young Namibians engaged in the political and governance aspect of our country?
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. It's taking everything within me right now not to smile from ear to ear and shout out everybody in my hometown right now. But Rivaldo, if you had to ask me this question 2 months ago, not 2 months, but a year ago, I would tell you that I have a negative viewpoint on this. But after having enrolled into this course and having done this course for relative 8 months right now, I can tell you that I have a positive view, and young people do play quite an impactful role in the political landscape that we find ourselves in today. However, in light of that, it's also worth noting that the engagement remains relatively low, with how civic organizations had to force young people, peer pressure them, and this is something that I mentioned in my article, peer pressure them into voting or taking partaking in their civic responsibilities, and also just acknowledging that this is actually a democratic right. The opportunity that you have to engage in politics is actually a democratic right. But I will also mention that young people do play a significant role. We see an uprise of this every day with them on social media. They are definitely bringing, they're moving away from traditional politics as we know it, and we are definitely moving into a space that I'm excited for. Yeah.
Okay, the space that you're excited for, and taking for the background that most students are now engaging in the political discourse,
Yes.
how can the academic viewpoint or academic aspect, especially considering political science, help translate young people into participating in politics in real time?
Rivaldo, I think there's a saying that I want to share here today that says you cannot shoot the man, and in this case the woman, that's willing to go to the library and actually pick up a book and read. And that in itself serves as a reminder that knowledge is power and that there's power in the knowing. And I feel like knowing adds to that power. And because we are in a society where civic education is readily made and easily made available to us, I feel like we're going to see, and allow me to also mention the individuals that have paved a way and also act as tangible representations of when theory meets the practice, such as Mr. Armando Pieters sitting here right now, Mr. Everett Pieters as well, and Mr. Allen Petrus, and all of us that are first years. And can you imagine what that's doing to the political landscape, and how this foundation that is still being laid will actually lead to an empowered generation politically, and also to a generation that will not necessarily have to rely on what they have to learn in books, but also about the civic education that is available on social media.
Thank you. So LapakaSheya, what you're essentially saying is that we should all study political science.
I would love that.
In politics.
I would love that, but unfortunately we can't all study political science, because who will be the doctors then? But what I'm saying is, it's beautiful to see that young people not necessarily feel like they have to enroll into a political science or public management course, but they are taking, even a biological science students, they literally can take up civic education and basically start a whole TikTok page about it, and then also just teach people in their own way.
Thank you. Welcome to the show, Ellen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Master Ronaldo.
Yes. Ellen, you're part of the Junior National Council. I'd like to find out, how do these platforms help amplify the voices of young people?
Okay, so the Junior National Council is actually a council under a body under the National Council itself. So this is a body where we bring where the National Council brings about 3 students or learners per region to come represent their region at the National Council. Just the same way as you see in our constitution written under the Regional Council, how it's established, and the National Council, how it comes out. That's how the Junior National Council actually works. So what we do as the National Council, each and every region has the kids there in their regions. They are facing problems. Whether in the rural communities, whether in the urban communities, we are all facing different problems. So what they do is they come with their agendas, and then we come there where we'll be accommodated or so, and then we deliberate on those issues, and then we collectively see which issues are really affecting maybe majority of the regions, not also neglecting the other regions, and then we, as young people, voice out on that.
Thank you. So what initiatives and policies has the Junior National Council been championing that have directly impacted young people?
Okay, so last year we had themes that we had. So last year we were looking at the high failure rate that was within the grade 11s and the AS level. So we were looking at about what are these causes, what caused the high failure rates, how can we go about that, how can the government as well as us as individuals also be accountable and find solutions towards these problems and look forward into the future. So the Junior National, what we have done actually is that we brought about our solutions, and we also had another session where we had raw materials, because we had I believe the late president.
Yes.
When was it? During the, is it the, okay, so the late president had something where he said that Namibia will not be exporting out raw materials out there anymore like that. So we were also behind that table. We were championing for that because we don't want our raw materials just to go out like that and us not benefiting from it. Because when we give out our raw materials, we give them out to be processed in another country, and when they come back, we get to pay for it. So expenses go more of we import more and then export less.
Thank you. Armando, also being a former member of the Junior National Council, I'd like to know, we have platforms such as the Junior National Council, the Children's Parliament. Why is it then so important to then again have young people in the political and governance arenas when government has already created these two spaces for young people to be engaged?
Oh, thank you ever so much for the question, Rivaldo. Firstly, I would like to contradict myself for a while and say that, look, Rivaldo, as far as where I am sitting, I think I still have a stern directive which I wish to give to my colleagues who are currently part of the Junior National Council, the newly inaugurated Children's Parliament of the Republic of Namibia, all other organizations that champion the voice of the young people. And my message is very clear. Stop being ceremonial puppets. And let us start driving the change that we so desire. Let us be the co-creators of the change that we want to see. Let us not have the discussions of petty discussions around it. Let us have nation-building discussions. And if our leaders do not want to listen to us, that is where radical activism comes in. I'm not encouraging radical activism, but you, all of us seated here know that once young people are given an opportunity, even in politics, it is no secret, they become ceremonial puppets. They are put there because they need to be there. They are put there because we need to have a young person there representing us. But it is very detrimental, as I said earlier on, Rivaldo, because as a young person, we have trust in you once you are placed there. But because of the very fundamental explanation or interpretation of what politics is, Namibian young people have become so prone to one interpretation or one definition of what politics is, and that is occupying public office. So once you have occupied public office, you feel you owe the party or the governing party that has put you into that position something. Well, you do not owe the party anything because you owe everything to the state to ensure that firstly you champion the first agenda that the state is entrusted with. And what is the first agenda? The first agenda is to ensure that its people's socio-economic conditions are addressed. That is a very fundamental explanation of what the state is. So it is very fundamental, Rivaldo, that young people are put into such spaces right now, because unfortunately what happened before independence unfortunately does not speak right now. Therefore, I am an activist. I speak out because I know as a young person what it is to be unemployed in Namibia. I know what it is to go to school in the cold. I know what it is to be oppressed economically. I know how it is to be chased by black tax. So unfortunately, I will be an activist because the policies of yesterday unfortunately do not speak to my constituencies today. Therefore, it is fundamental that we are given such spaces to air and champion such causes.
Thank you. Thank you. LapakaSheya, building on the answers by Armando, I'd like to find out from you and from an academic viewpoint, being a political science student, is it then that platforms such as the Children's Parliament and the Junior National Council, even having young people involved in politics, is a form of tokenism and is in itself ineffective? What are your thoughts on Armando's sentiments?
I think Armando raised a very important sentiment because it's true. We live in a society where a lot of young people opt to become CV warriors, and where they rather take up political leadership positions to actually just prove a point or to either for a lack of a better word, fill their CVs. And this is not what leadership looks like from my academic point of view, because from what we are taught what politics will look like in a perfect world. And when we come and meet politics in the practical world, it's far from what we actually study in the book. So I do, agree with Armando when he says that we need to empower young people not to take up leadership positions or not to enter political spaces with their CV on their mind, but instead with the people at heart, because there is a lot that people go through and we cannot forget that. So I think that would wrap up my sentiments around that, yeah.
Armando, thank you so much. And LapakaSheya, thank you so much. We've heard from our two guests, Ellen, on their sentiments regarding the Junior Council, the Children's Parliament, and also having young people directly be involved in politics. Now you being a member, current member of the Junior National Council, do you agree that platforms such as the Junior National Council and the Children's Parliament and having young people involved in politics is somewhat tokenism in our country and does not really affect positive change that directly impact other young people?
Okay, thank you, Rivaldo, for the question. I will definitely 100% agree with that. Because I have seen that, and I've also been, like, I've seen it, and I've even experienced it. Because we are brought to this place. We are being showed the nice accommodation, we are sitting there, it's nice, everything is looking nice. We sit there around the chairs comfortably, we are talking to each other, getting to connect with one another. It's good. The week is over. What then afterwards? What do you do afterwards? How do the mentors also come into playing an effect of saying, no, my kids, these are the kids, these are the problems that you guys have raised. These are the solutions you guys collectively came together, deliberated on it, and then you found the solutions. How are we going about to put them into effect? Because politics, talking and doing action is two different things. By nature, we are political animals, as Aristotle has said. But then, how are we going to change that things? Because we right now, as my colleague Armando has said, that the policies that are being given to us right now or being put on the tables right now, they are affecting us. How then, in the future, I'm going to have a house. How are you also going about to see that, no, these policies that have been done, I'm also in the table, making a decision, also contributing, so that it can also come into the betterments of my desires in the future, and also looking back to my generation that is going to come afterwards.
Thank you so much, Ellen. LapakaSheya, again, being a student at the University of Namibia studying political science, how can universities and schools better prepare young people to ensure that when young people go into the political and civic arenas or platforms, that they are able to properly invoke positive change that directly impact the broader youth and not become tokens, as you guys have clearly put it out there?
Rivaldo, thank you so much for the question again. I think the Afrobarometer was very clear about it, and with what in regards to what young people actually want. And one of the things was that we want civic education beyond just an election year. We don't want it just in an election. I don't have to just know in an election year that voting is a democratic right. I have to know it ever since, like, when I enter school, I need to know it. And I think the US has laid a perfect foundation for it. For example, when, 7-year-olds, as young as, they know which political party or what political parties are actually in the country as of now. So I think Namibia needs to bring back civic education into the curriculum. My rights and my responsibilities. That's something that I went through in grade 2, and I never heard of it again. I think they need to bring back that campaign, and not only just in life skills, but it must be a compulsory subject so that people are educated about their civic education and about their civic responsibilities and rights. If it's not going to be in primary school, then let it be in high schools, where these learners are not only prepared for what careers they need to take, but also how politics will then affect these careers. Because we are animals by nature, and we are described to live in a jungle. And because we live in a jungle, the only form of civilization that can take place is if it's done politically. And because it's done politically, we need to encourage this. And that's why it pains me when I hear that universities have political bans. Because how can it be that I am in a space where I need to learn about which route I'm going to take, which party I'm going to vote for, but you don't allow me to actually exercise my right in those spaces. So lift political bans in universities and also introduce this into not only our curriculums, but take it to the streets. Take civic education beyond just dancing and having Coke bottles given to us, but educate me as to why these policies are then important.
Educate me are the sentiments being shared here by our distinguished panel. We'll now be taking a short break to just digest everything that has been said, and please stay tuned as we return very, very soon. Thank you so much and welcome back to Situation KRiTiKal, where we're discussing an important issue, which is the involvement of young people in the country's political landscape. To contribute to this discussion, do not forget to dial 061 291 3339. That is 061 291 3339. Thank you so much and welcome back. Starting off with you, Armando, we've mentioned that we do see young people being engaged in politics. However, this is from a tokenism and a symbolism point of view, where they don't really do much to impact the greater or broader other young people out there in the country. So what can be done to change this, to ensure that the young people that do go into politics, the young people that are part of the Junior National Council and the Children's Parliament, actually do their work and invoke positive change?
Yes, thank you very much, Rivaldo. From where I'm sitting, I would say just do the right thing and do as you are rightly informed. Do not stick to one side because it is fashionable to stick to one side. Because politics, also the definition is very broad of politics, Rivaldo. Politics also deals with who gets what, when and how. That speaks to our natural resources. It speaks to our human capital. It speaks to our financial capital in a country. So what you need to know, Rivaldo, having young people as policymakers, as lawmakers, is not enough. Because that is not the only definition of politics. Because politics also deals with our natural resources. So why don't we have young people as CEOs? Why don't we have young people as board of directors? Why don't we have young people as ambassadors, very, very young people as ambassadors? Why don't we have them in all other areas? Because having them as policymakers is not enough. Of course, policy influences everything that happens, but that is not enough. They need to be also there to guard our natural resources. They need to be there to guard our resources, everything that has to do with our resources in our country. So from where I am seated, Rivaldo, I would say it is time that young people do not move away. And it is the blatant truth. Anyone can disagree with me, but in Namibia, we have a tendency of playing cater politics. Well, cater politics will destroy this country because each party and each young person wants to be aligned to their political party. And whether something is wrong, you just entertain it. Because of why? Because why do they do this? Because of the collective decision making. And as a cater or as a member of the party, you cannot move because the party has made a collective decision whilst you know that that is wrong. And whilst you know that you have 70% demographic behind you who can support you, when you tell your leaders that is out of order.
Thank you so much, Armando. We have a caller on the line, and joining us here tonight is Abdul from Windhoek. Abdul, welcome to Situation KRiTiKal.
Oh, thank you very much, my brothers. Good evening to you and good evening to your listeners around the world in Namibia.
Good evening, Abdul.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you from the speaker and the represented member in your show. You're doing very, very great. And I like the way your move is. Keep it up like that. And the second thing is politics, as the brother is saying. We need to sharpen the pen and the book between educations. That is the key to a success. Now, when we talk about politicians, when you become a politician, you need to know what the politics is supposed to be in the level of the countries, the citizens, and then what you call about economic. Because we talk about money, we talk about politics. We talk about populations, we talk about politics. And everything we have to do, we must be able to make sure that we participate in the best manner. For example, the brother says, young people need to be a part of decision making, and which is very, very important. You cannot just have young people, end of the day, are not productive by economic society. When we haven't, most of the people are sick, they need doctors. So where are the doctors, the youth doctors? Where are the youth business people? And where are the youth, whenever they have a meeting, are the youth called to be participated there? So some of these things are mostly persisted, denying the rights of the youth. So we need to embrace the leadership between young and the old, and men and women. That is non-gender. So we can balance the system, and we can also encourage the youth to have a dignity of respect for what you want as a youth. What do you want? What is your future? What is your hope? What do you want to give to the table for those young brothers and sisters who are coming up to learn about you and understand what you want to give them, the lesson that you have getting from the old ones,
Thank you.
and then
Thank you so much,
the
Abdul.
generation comes. What are we going to help them back for them to be paid back whatever you has been learned and whatever you have been struggling? When you go to school, you need to make sure that you study very hard and make sure that you pass so that you can become a young, productive youth in the society. So drinkiness, alcohol, drugs,
Thank you.
all these things must remove from
Okay,
you.
thank you so much, Abdul. We've heard quite a lot from Abdul LapakaSheya, and I want you to build on the sentiments where he said that young people should not just be involved in politics, but we need doctors and we need young people to look after the country's natural resources. So what do you think is the generational mission of this group of young people in today's Namibia?
In today's Namibia, I think what is it? We want an empowered Namibia on our own terms. Not on the terms of those that have gone before us and not on the terms of those that are yet to come because they are non-existent. We are fighting for generations unborn. And I think I have heard Abdul when he said that politics gives economics meaning and economics gives politics meaning. So they cannot exist separate from each other, but instead they must exist combined. So that is why I come to the conclusion with Abdul that we need to empower our young people not only to enter political spaces but also in whatever path they choose. And it leads me back to the point of introducing civic education within the school curriculum, because a doctor too can know their rights, a teacher too can know their rights, not just the political science student. And I think, yeah, that sums it up.
Thank you so much, LapakaSheya. We have another caller on the line, John from Oshakati. Good evening, John, and welcome to Situation KRiTiKal.
Good evening. I think I have to add one thing very important. Do not cry for a seat at the table. Create a seat at the table. That's very important. When you are, I've seen it myself firsthand, when young people engage ministers, they rather take pictures than talk about what is the ministry, whatever minister that minister is from, whatever institute is from. They don't say, Comrade Minister, how come you have this program, but how come it's not rolled out in every region? I think young people, it's high time we understand that it's not about that we are not getting a chair at the table. It's who you are aligned with, and that's the practical truth. I can only speak for the party where I come from, where people go in congresses and question ministers, why should you go back to parliament? If you couldn't do it then, who told you are going back? And this time I can guarantee you, I'm seeing young people standing from each region. But I can only speak for my political party. I can't speak for other people's political party.
Thank you so much, John.
It's also about democracy, changing leaders. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Ellen, building on John's sentiments, what do you think of what he has said? Basically, that young people, when they see a minister, they are more inclined to rather take pictures than to ask the minister, Comrade Minister, I don't agree with this policy. Is that true? And is that what young people are doing on the ground?
Thank you, Rivaldo, for the question. Indeed, it is true. Most of the young people, they feel like when you take a picture with the president or the prime minister, they have made it in the world. That is nothing. It's just a person there. Okay, I recognize your title, yes. You have a title, you are the prime minister. What? Okay, you are doing decisions on my behalf. Those decisions are affecting me in a certain manner. Why don't I go back as a young person? Why don't I go back and then ask, oh, Honorable Minister, you did this and did this and did this. Why did you do this? Follow up in a type of manner, but in a respectful manner, because we need to respect our elders. Okay.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Ellen. We have another call on the line. Anytime from Tsumeb, welcome to Situation KRiTiKal.
Thank you very much for the welcome and a very good evening to the panel and the viewers there. Yeah, it's a very good topic, the importance of youth participation in politics and governance. This is the road of the future of this country. If we don't prepare the youth of this country will be in a dilemma. And in most cases, as the most contributor of the nation building in terms of sharing ideas at the People's Parliament, I indicated many times that civic education is supposed to be in the school curriculum as from maybe senior primary there, so that we prepare these young ones into knowing things pertaining, politics in this country and the governance of this country. Now, the most important thing that I want to say, the youth of this country, they are too much involved into alcohol. They don't have time to spend on how they can prepare themselves to be the next or future leaders of this country and know more about politics. All they want to do is just want to jump on a position and to be a political leader where this person is not vested with the knowledge of politics. So the leaders out there listening to this topic, and the Minister of Education in particular, let them introduce civic education in schools so that we prepare the youth for the future of this country in politics and governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Anytime.
All right.
Armando, building on the sentiments of Anytime, would you agree that really, and I think that is a common sentiment that's being shared here among the panel, that Namibia indeed has a weak youth in terms of engagement in politics and civic matters? Is that the truth when the country is being applauded globally for having some of the best policies, some of which were even introduced by young people and the different young people that serve in the different parliamentary positions? So would you agree that we really do have a weak group of young people in Namibia?
I would never agree with such a statement, because then you are telling me that Armando too is weak, and I am not weak. I am not a coward. I'm not ready to sell out on our generational mandate. So I would rather say it is because our people are not well informed, Rivaldo. People that are not informed don't know how to make right decisions. Because I am informed, and I know that I can come up to a minister and tell the minister I do not agree with policy A, B, and C. And I know that this cannot hinder my growth in politics, because I do not owe the minister anything. But this country owes me because I'm a son of this soil. This country owes Lapaka because she's a daughter of this soil. I think our people are not just informed. That's why they rather beg instead of speaking out. Let me use a very classical example, Rivaldo. I serve on the Constituency Development Committee in Karatura Central. My honorable councillor and I, we disagree on certain matters, and we agree strongly on merit. But that does not hinder me from attending the next CDC meeting, because that is my democratic right. And I was elected by the people on the ground to serve them on that position. So people think that once you see a minister, I'm sorry to say, Rivaldo, but this is the honest truth. Once they see a minister, they feel like if you are to call the honorable minister to order, the minister might block you from growing. Well, this is your country. This state owes you, this country owes you, and the government in power owes you, because they have gotten the mandate to administer the affairs of the state by popular demand. And if the government of the day does not speak to that mandate, then it is ours to reprimand our government. But then it is because our people are not informed, Rivaldo. We are not weak. Our young Namibian people are not weak. There are only two things. Some are not informed, and those that are informed play cater politics and play to get a seat on the table and not advocate for the broader benefit of the young people in the south, in the north, in the east, and in the west.
Thank you so much, Armando. LapakaSheya, I think the panel has been quite interesting, considering that there's been a lot of criticism and a lot of praise that has also been going around, especially involving young people's involvement in politics. Now, what can government and political parties do to ensure that young people are involved in the policy, in decision-making of Namibia?
Thank you, Rivaldo, for that question. I've been waiting for it. I promise not to be too hilarious. But I think what government can do and political parties can do, number one, is translating the manifestos, translating the information dissemination. I need to know that my granny in Kara's region that only speaks Kwekwe Kovap can understand what this political party aims to do. I need to make sure that my granny in the deepest of Katima Mulilo can also understand, or any young person that finds themselves wanting to know more about the country can understand these documents that are made available to them. Information dissemination, Rivaldo. All of us, we are not connected to WhatsApp, so you can't have a manifesto that is on WhatsApp only. You need to be at a grassroots level. The same way you can go door to door, asking people to vote for you. Go door to door, educating people about what the benefits that you can bring them when you are in power. I also think I can add to what Armando said. It's not that young people do not know or that they are weak. And I want to leave you with this TikTok quote: were you silent or were you silenced? Because a lot of us, we are silenced because we do not know what is going on. Not because we don't actively make time, but it's because the documents are not accessible to us. And when they are accessible to us, we hear things like we are supposed to break this down on our own. But what would it cost a minister or the government actually to introduce this? Maybe as a reading period, because they like introducing reading periods from grade 4. So let what are the learners in grade 4 again? Yeah, anyways, let my 10-year-old sister read about your manifesto then. Yeah.
Thank you so much, LapakaSheya. We have another caller on the line. Good evening and welcome to Situation KRiTiKal. We have Joffrey all the way from Mochivarongo on the line.
Hi, Honorable Rivaldo.
Good evening, Joffrey. Welcome to Situation KRiTiKal.
Thank you and the team. I wanted just to contribute what Honorable Pieters said, that initially they come during Children's Parliament. After that, nothing happens. Initially, the process is this. After the Children's Parliament ends, a report is tabled by the Committee on Gender. This report goes to the Line Ministry. The Line Ministry will be engaged before the next session comes. Then it's actually before it goes to Parliament, and then for discussion, and then the Ministry, and then the Ministry back to the House before the next Children's Parliament is constituted. And then they would see what the House discussed, what was adopted based on the motion that was passed, and then from there, they can see what needs to be included or follow up or for further implementation. Actually, that is the process that I wanted just to clarify, that it's not the end once the session of the Children's Parliament ends, but there are processes that need to take place until the next House is constituted.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joffrey.
Good.
Alan, building on Joffrey's sentiments, and again, also building on LapakaSheya's sentiments, that government needs to create more bodies where young people can tangibly influence policy and decision-making. Aren't platforms like the Children's Parliament and the Junior National Council enough platforms for young people to really influence policy and decision-making? So aren't young people being given the opportunity to also have a seat at the table and to influence policy and decision-making?
Thank you, Rivaldo, for the question. Indeed, young people, okay, before I come to your question, I just want to add to what Lapaka has said in terms of the manifestos. Manifestos should be translated in different languages, but the manifestos should also be given in a basic language where people can understand. Because it doesn't help you are speaking your fancy English and I don't understand what you are saying, but then you are still there, you want to run for a seat where you are going to make decisions on my behalf. Because in the end of the day, we signed a social contract where you are going, I'm giving half of my rights for you to lead me, and you are also giving me security and protection and all those things. So what actually needs to be done also, we just need to, manifestos should be translated in a basic way, where all the people are able to understand what you are actually saying. And going back to the question that you have asked, well, the Junior National Council and the Children's Parliament, they are one house, because when they are separate, you can't call them the Parliament. But these two houses are not enough. What we need to do is we need to go down on a local level in terms of junior city councils, like the municipalities being there. We go on a regional level, where in terms of Ojozonjupa Regional Council, you can name it all. In this country, we only have one region that is effective in terms of these structures, and that is Erongo region. Yes. Why is that so? Why are all the other regions not also imitating what the Erongo region is doing, also to give the young people on sit on these local tables, traditional authorities, if then it has to be so, and also on a regional level. And the other thing that I also always advocate for is that why don't leaders have a young person that they use or like that they can
Groom. Yes.
into becoming an effective leader. Because what legacy do you want to leave if you go off from there? What legacy do you want to leave? That is the thing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We have our last caller on the line. We have Edgar from Windhoek. Good evening, Edgar, and welcome to Situation KRiTiKal.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I hope you can hear me well.
Loud and clear, Edgar.
Yes. It's quite an interesting topic that you guys have on TV. Just want to contribute a bit on the importance of youth in politics. I mean, the main reason that we all know, which is quite obvious, is that the youth is actually the future. I think, I think we know that a few years from now, the people that are in governance right now will not be there. But the problem we have with this is that our leaders, our elders, our older people, they don't prepare us in this politics. When you look at the politics, how many youth people are there? You know, and all our ministers and all this, these are all people that are about to retire in the next 5 years. We don't even have a prominent someone to take over certain ministries or certain organizations and so forth. So we're not prepared. Let me leave that there. The importance will also be that the youth have a more fresher, a more energetic view and knowledge on issues that are affecting our community, such as housing, education, health policies, and so forth, and even sports. Sports is something that really builds a nation. And when you look at it, we have stadiums that are not FIFA approved, right? And we have people that are entitled, or not entitled, but are set to improve these stadiums and so forth.
Thank you so much, Edgar.
Yes, but they don't really look into it. So I guess that's all I can say. It's quite important that we are not really prepared to take on the challenge for the next of the future.
Thank you so much, Edgar. There's been a lot said here today on the panel. We'll take a break and we'll return soon to finally provide our concluding remarks. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying tuned. Armando, there's been a lot said, especially from our last caller, in which he clearly made mention of the significant troubles that the country is facing. Now, in order to solve the troubles, I'd like to find out from you, how can the current people in government, our current leaders, involve young people into the political and civic engagement space? What tangible steps can really be done to ensure that come next year after the elections, we see a number of young people in key government positions and decision-making positions?
Well, thank you very much for that one, Rivaldo. First, I'd like to not speak to government's perspective or speak to government, but I'd like to speak to my constituents. That we always like to complain about the situation we find ourselves in, but yet there's nothing that we do. So mine, firstly, Rivaldo, would be to my constituents. I'd like to plead with them and tell them that the time is now for us to stand up. The time is now for us to show all these parties that are running for state interest. Let us show them that, look, the young people have stood up. Here are our challenges. Then only can government speak to our demands. Then only can government speak to the economic oppression that we find ourselves in. Then only can government speak to us having a problem with NS5 being a loan instead of it being a grant. But we are young people. We make up most of the population demographic, but we do not go and vote. So to whose problem should government speak? To those who go and vote? Or to those who are reluctant on voting? I think it speaks for itself.
Thank you so much. Lapaka, earlier you mentioned a TikTok or popular TikTok saying, are you silent or are you silenced?
Yeah.
So speaking on the issue of TikTok and social media, how can young people leverage social media to also get the attention of our leaders and to influence positive change in decision-making and policy decisions?
Yeah. I think, what is it? First, I would like to add on what the previous caller said when he said that young people sit with the ideas. When whilst with old age may come wisdom, with youth there is there's innovation. And because there's innovation, I didn't mean to drop a bar there, but because there's innovation with the young people, I believe that the Shut It All Down movement has provided a clear example of what can happen when youth take, or young people take, what they are dealing with to social media, and how the sanitary pads right now are untaxed because young people decided to go to social media and actually complain about this. I'm saying you don't always have to be in the street to do the most and to be radical, but you can also take it to what looks like radicalism to you. And if it's social media, then you can do it at the comfort of your phone. That's very demure and that's very mindful.
Thank you. Ellen, building on with the fruitful discussion here and quite an insightful discussion, what would you say would be your last words to all the young people tuning into the show here tonight?
Okay, thank you, Rivaldo, for the question. Well, I just want to tell my fellow constituents that even though we do not want to partake into politics, politics will always be part of us, no matter what. So it's either up to you to let someone lead you to their decisions on your behalf, and you just sit there and relax, and whatever consequences comes and then you follow, or either it's you to come on the table, put your insights in, and then also try and see how you are also going to benefit from that in the future ones also.
Thank you so much. LapakaSheya, what are your final words to all our young viewers sitting out there and watching the show?
Thank you so much, Rivaldo. I think I want to look at the camera when I say this, because I want to touch every single viewer's hand when I say this, that it is time for young people to take up space, because we are not the leaders of tomorrow, but we are the leaders of today. We sit with the ideas. We need to head to the polls so that we can actually make sure that the 71% was represented. And I think only then will we then be able to stand tall and say that we have done our job for generations unborn.
Thank you so much. Armando, your
Rivaldo,
final thoughts.
Thank you very much. When giving my 2021 independence wish for Namibia, I said the following, and I said it is heartwarming and commendable to see that now young people are involved in politics. When we speak of youth in politics, it was an agenda which previously was not spoken about. But today, we can commend our government, we can commend our political system for seeing that the times have changed. The times have evolved. And of course, Rivaldo, I always say, and I will never shy away from this, I say that we just need to learn to coexist. First message to the young people is to stop being cowards. We do not owe political parties anything, but rather political parties owe us everything. We owe the state to protect the resources of this country. Secondly, I want to say let us learn to coexist, young and old, because you can be young and easily corrupted, and you can be old and incompetent. But let us learn to coexist, to strengthen this Namibian political system for the broader benefit of a greater Namibian house, which we so all are yearning for.
Thank you. This has been Situation Critical, and our African proverb for tonight comes and is as follows: a tree is bent while it is still wet. The meaning of this proverb is that wisdom and behavioral influences are instilled when a person is still young. Until next time, and remember the tagline: Situation Critical, minds philosophical. Peace and love. Good night.